Picture this. It's 2 a.m., you step outside, the neighborhood is completely quiet, and then something calls out from the tree right above you. Not a dog, not a person. Something that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. 9 times out of 10, that was an owl. And the wild thing is, it was probably there long before you noticed. Today, I'm walking you through 5 owl calls that everyone should know. And throwing in a bonus at the end that explains a sound so terrifying it has a long history of being mistaken for something paranormal. These are mostly for the lower 48 United States, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for that bonus. Kicking things off with the king of the night sky, the great horned owl. This thing is massive, commanding, and it lives way closer to you than you probably realize. Those 2 horn-like shapes on its head? Not actual horns. They're feather tufts called plumbeak horns, and they're basically nature's crown for the most dominant owl in North America. I actually had one park itself on my chimney one winter night, heard it before I saw it. When something that large hoots at close range, it hits you in the chest. The call itself is that deep rhythmic classic. Hoo, 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 unmistakable. And if you're lucky, you'll catch a mated pair answering each other back and forth in a duet. That mostly happens in fall and winter when they're pairing up to nest. If you're hearing something hooting in the cold weather months, this is almost certainly your culprit. Number 2 has a personality that catches people completely off guard. The barred owl. No ear tufts on this one. Just a round, dignified face, brown-gray feathers built to blend into tree bark, and a call so iconic that once you hear it, it's burned into your memory forever. Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all? That's the classic phrase birders use to remember it, and honestly, it nails it. But here's the part nobody warns you about. Barred owls also make these absolutely unhinged, primate-like screaming noises. Not hoots. Screams. The kind of noise that makes you want to go back inside and lock the door. They're largely an eastern species, but they're aggressively expanding westward. If you're in a forest, swamp, or wooded edge, you might already have one. I warned you about this one in the intro, the barn owl. And I want you to be mentally prepared before we get to the sound. Barn owls are ghostly white with a perfectly heart-shaped face. They fly in near total silence. And then they open their mouths and produce one of the most blood-curdling screams in the entire animal kingdom. Long, rasping, and reverberating. It sounds like a shriek from something that should not exist. Historians actually believe the barn owl's scream is behind many old ghost and banshee legends. People would hear that sound at night near old buildings and, yeah, can't blame them. They love barns, old churches, and open farmland. If you see a ghostly pale bird gliding silently at dusk, that's your barn owl. And now you know exactly what it sounds like. Number 4 is a fan favorite, and the name is a complete lie. The screech owl doesn't screech at all. In the U.S., we have 2 main species, the eastern screech owl and the western screech owl, and their calls are actually very different from each other, which is what makes this interesting. The eastern screech owl makes this descending, trembling whinny, kind of like a tiny ghost horse laughing in slow motion. People have been describing it as eerie for centuries, and they're not wrong. It also makes a long, monotone trill that genuinely sounds nothing like a bird. The western screech owl? Completely different energy. Its call sounds like a bouncing ball, a rapid series of hollow notes that speed up toward the end. Still weird, still wonderful. Here's the part I love telling people, though. Screech owls will actually nest in backyard nest boxes. You can build one, put it up, and there's a real chance one moves in. I've watched them poke their heads out right at dusk, sizing up the evening before heading out to hunt. The eastern screech owl even comes in two color forms, gray and a gorgeous rufous red morph, worth looking for. And then there's my personal favorite, the northern Saw-Whet owl. This little bird is barely bigger than your fist, but its call is relentless. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It repeats that high-pitched whistle over and over for what feels like forever. Winter nights in pine forests, that's when you're most likely to hear one. They breed further north, but migrate south when the cold sets in. So some winters, you'll hear them everywhere, and some years barely at all. Spotting one is another story. They tuck in tight against pine branches near the trunk and essentially disappear. But the sound? Once you know it, you'll never unhear it. Keep your ears open on cold, quiet nights. Okay, this is the one that is going to completely change the way you hear your neighborhood at night. Young great horned owls and young barred owls make a begging call that sounds almost identical to a barn owl's scream. It's this raw, raspy, desperate shrieking that has had people absolutely convinced there's something supernatural outside their window. What it actually means. A pair of owls had babies, raised them successfully, and those babies are still hanging around going, "Feed me. I'm hungry. Over here. Food. Now." I've had people send me recordings completely panicked, and every time it's one of these young owls begging in the treetops. So if you hear that kind of screaming in late summer or early fall, don't panic. That means owls are alive and thriving right outside your door. That's a win. So those are 5 owl calls, plus that bonus, that are genuinely going to change how you experience the night. These birds are out there right now, calling in the dark, and now you know exactly what they're saying. Drop your favorite in the comments. I want to know which one surprised you the most. If you want more content like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.